You're going to be under arrest.
For what?
For not listening to me.
I think the emergency is the video, somebody's videotaping.
Okay. And the shirt says, I believe, balls deep. He says his name is Captain Awesome.
Hey guys, Rogue Nation here with you today, and we got a video coming to you out of Texas. Channel's name is Around Town with Melissa Brown, and this is a city council meeting, and it's insane to me how we're getting videos almost daily out of city councils, county councils, you know, these people in administrative roles, and they don't want to be held accountable. It's really sickening. But, you know, what can you do? I can only do so much, right? So we got to keep on keeping on. So without saying too much more, guys, let me know in the description what you think about the actions of these folks in authority in the comment section below. Alright? Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Issue at all. It's going to help out a lot of people in this town. Get it done. As far as raising fees and everything else, which will bring that up as a dovetail to the public hearing. We've got a lot of people in this town that do not pay taxes, and we'll come back to that one for a public hearing. There's governing standards for unification, as Jesus would have us live and treat each other. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, not at the tip of a Roman sword or spear. This fascist crap that you've been pulling for the last 2 years, and that's what it is. You can't say, oh, well, we're doing it for your own good. The guy who couldn't get into art school in Germany in the 20s said the same thing. Oh, it's all for your own good. You may not see it, you may not acknowledge it, but that's what it is. You're restricting, you're frustrating, you're stymieing our ability to engage and further justify your lack of representing us. Now, there are poor souls in this room and outside of this room that say, oh, well, they haven't gotten around to anything that I care about, so why should I care if freedom of speech or the right to redress grievances with the government? I don't have any problem with it. That's how it starts. Every single solitary time, this is how it starts. You support it, you're a fascist. You can't say, oh, we're the good fascists. No, it doesn't work that way. I've been promising for quite a long time that with bad advice and consent of our lackluster city attorney, you're about to get a very, very expensive civics lesson. I guarantee you that. Also, in response to this, that might answer the question why there's 2 recall petitions that have been submitted in the last couple of days. I'm not behind it, but you can be damn sure that I'm going to get behind it, and I'm going to chase you with paper, I'm going to wound you with the laws, and we're going to wind up, I say this figuratively, Chief, we're going to kill you with your own money.
CJ Grissom, you have 4 minutes.
First of all, I'm glad my mayor's here because there's at least one fewer tyrant mayor in attendance. In a society under the forms of which the stronger faction can readily unite and oppress the weaker, anarchy may as truly be said to reign. James Madison once wrote of the, quote, great importance in a republic not only to guard the society against the oppression of its rulers, but to guard one part of the society against the injustice of the other part. Madison went to great lengths to highlight the tyranny of the majority in the Federalist Papers number 51, and this is about RS 24-116. I'm going to get there. I'm laying my predicate. He understood that, quote, different interests necessarily exist in different classes of citizen. If a majority be united by a common interest, the rights of the minority will be insecure. The original text of the First Amendment to the Constitution, as drafted by Mr. Madison, read, "The people shall not be deprived or abridged of their right to speak, to write or to publish their sentiments. This was shortened by the special committee drafting the amendments for submission to the delegates, but highlights the freedom of speech and includes the protection from the abridgment of it. Yet despite these admonitions against infringing upon the right to speak freely, President John Adams, who was present at these debates, passed the Sedition Act. The Sedition Act criminalized anyone who would, quote, write, print, utter, or publish any false, scandalous, or malicious writing or writings against the government of the United States, or either House of Congress of the United States or the President of the United States with the intent to defame the said government, or said House of the said Congress, or said President, or to bring them or any of them into contempt or disrepute, those poor government officials, having people say bad things about them. The horror they must have gone through. The act was used to suppress speech critical of the Adams administration. Now, while the act was allowed to expire in 1800, the Supreme Court noted it likely would have been ruled unconstitutional. While you guys are trying to come down to just twice a week, I don't have any problem with that. I mean, that's how we do it in Temple. The problem is, y'all have a history of clamping down on the First Amendment. You know, you started with just these so-called rules of decorum or whatever, and then you decided, oh, stay on topic. We're not gonna let you talk about anything but what we want you to talk about. We are your masters in this temple of government. We, upon our high chairs of office up here, standing before you, elevated below you lowly citizens. So then what did you do? You know, people were trying to talk during agenda items. So now you're trying to make it even less. You have just been presented, at least your city secretary has, with the lawsuit that I promised you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Cobb, Mr. Cagle. Not looking at me now, are you? You thought it was all talk when you wouldn't let us talk. Now that talk is in writing. You've been served.
Mr. Price, you have 4 minutes.
I know that's not the right proposal.
Good evening, City Council. So I'm going to rise underneath several sections here, just so we're clear on how I'm going to present myself and present my readings here. It's in accordance with section 551.042, section 551.001, chapter 4, section B, and section 551.007. So I also rise to make an amendment to next week's agenda to put on several items. One is that we bifurcate the screen so that y'all are visualized as well as the person speaking on the lectern underneath the video. That's one proposal. The other proposal is to amend several ordinances. One is the city manager's pay, and to reduce it to $1 to the population as registered voters, to equal that dollar. One person registered, $1 for that person. For the city manager, with a base pay of $50,000 and a max pay with benefits not to exceed $150,000. That's on average with Texas standard payment for most city managers, even though that we're one of the highest in the nation for city managers' pay. Outside of that, total money spending, right, for all the items, for every single item. I spoke of this last meeting. If you count everything up that we're going to spend, whether it's federal dollars, grant dollars, or anything like that, we're spending $23 million. That's the total. When you total everything up. Now, some of it's, you know, like I said, federal grants and things like this. But I have a question with the Scarlet Field. We're going to spend 2.7. We already spent $2.7 million for the tower. How many people we got flying in there? How many planes and passengers are going in and out of Skylight Field? I'm just curious, because I don't see anybody coming in and out there as passengers. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening. As a hobby field, that's a lot of money to be spending on a tower that might see one Cessna a week. Just kind of curious about that. Not only that, $99,000 for water irrigation at the golf course. That only 1% to 3% of the population actually utilized. RS 2414. What are the perpetuity requirements in that request there? I also rise to suggest that we add to next week's agenda an amendment to RS 24-116 that we add town hall meetings, right, on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. If we're going to cut everything back, then let's just add town hall meetings so we can actually speak and have a voice and utilize the First Amendment and actually tell you things, bring things forward, just open air, just like you had before. Under the CDBG funds, right, we're using $265,000 to just administer the whole program. Not only that, the We Care Incorporated, we're paying $168,000 for. I mean, who's getting that $168,000? I don't, doesn't tell me who or where it's going to. It's just administration fees. And it's a lot of money for administrating something that is nothing to you, because doesn't explain anything in the thing. And code enforcement, did they start getting paid $30 an hour? That's because I thought that it was on the thing for $13 an hour on the city website, but now they're getting $30 an hour. So I'm kind of a little confused with that.
Mr. Price, your time is up. Thank you. Melissa Brown?
So the 35 seconds that's on there right now is not mine?
No, sir, it's over.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just see the 35 seconds on there. I assume it's mine.
Thank you, Mr. Price. You have 4 minutes.
Can I go under the assumption I get an extra 45 seconds? No? Okay. I'm going to talk to you about your governing standards. That's it, in 4 minutes, governing standards. Well, I think it was admirable for the council to change up the way that they appoint council members to boards and committees. I think that we understand what a mess that has become. For the past 2 years, there's been at least one council member who has sat on 0 boards or committees. One council member who has sat on 6 or 7 boards or committees, and others that take their first committee or 2 that they highly prefer, pass on everything else, and then you have some council members who don't even get the respect of being able to be here to pick their committees that they're on. I think this is ridiculous. If you're going to do it this way, then everybody should have to take their turn until all of the committees are appointed, and every council member should be present in order to do this. Okay. According to the presentation, there are only 2 changes to your governing standards. The problem is there are not only 2 changes to your governing standards. So, agenda format. You go through 1 through 6 is everything up until you get staff presentation. Number 7 is your work session, where you get the presentations from staff and you discuss items on the regular agenda. The regular session, this is where the items are included that the council will vote on and take action, and then citizen comments, followed a long way down the way by public hearings. Now, the regular meetings are held on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays starting at 3 unless the meeting is rescheduled or canceled, and it will include a work session to discuss all of the agenda items. This is going to become important in just a moment. The work session is a meeting to discuss or explore matters of interest to the city. Work session meetings, again, is to discuss regular meetings. You will discuss items before they come up to the meeting portion of your meeting. So if we go ahead and we look at what meeting is defined as in the Texas Open Meetings Act, it is a deliberation between a quorum of a governmental body during which public business or public policy or over which governmental body has supervision or control is discussed. If you are going to comment and have discussion and presentations on any of those items prior to the citizen comments, you are violating the law. Don't take my word for it. Go ahead and check the Attorney General under their text of the Open Meeting Act where it specifically says that. Also, if you are going to have people by video conference, as we do today, then it must specify the location of the meeting where the quorum is, but your agenda also has to specify you have council members. On video conference, you also have to allow the opportunity for citizens to participate via video conference also. Go ahead, check it all out. Fact check me on this one. Each portion of a meeting held by video conference is required to be open to the public, shall be visible and audible to the public at the location. So on one of these three screens, the entire public should be able to see Councilman Adams right now and hear him. His mute should not be, his mic should not be muted. But let's go a little bit further and just let you know that Austin just lost a federal case where two federal judges told them that at a very minimum, in order to comply with state law, they have to allow each and every single citizen a minimum of 3 minutes per agenda item to speak. And it's not after you've already had the discussion. It's either prior to the discussion or during the item, and then again when you are considering it. To do this, you're not only violating our rights, you are violating the law, and I would carefully advise each and every single one of you to really take notice of that.
Thank you. Your time
pay
is
attention
up.
to the law. By
Cameron
my calculation, at 40 seconds,
Cochran,
because you gave it to Mr. Price, or
Cameron
did he just
Cochran,
speak? Did he speak
you are
kindly
the
enough
next
to you?
speaker. Please come
Did
up.
he speak
Thank
kindly
you.
enough, and is
Your
that why I don't
time
get
is
my
up.
extra 45 seconds?
Please take your seat.
I have 30 more seconds. But
Your
in
time
order
is up.
to-
Cameron Cochran.
You're not the
time is
mayor.
up.
You're not the mayor. You're a pro-tem police officer.
Melissa Brown,
Are you
you
just now
interrupted
saying that
the
filed your
meeting.
petition?
Melissa Brown, you are interrupting the
I'm not,
meeting.
you called me out.
Cameron Cochran, you can speak.
Oh, you just said-
Cameron Cochran, you can speak. Melissa Brown, your time is up. Okay.
He actually just,
Please take your seat. Council, we're taking a 5-minute break.
Please do, and then check your governing standards where it says that someone can yield time to another citizen.
That's it, run away, that's all you're good for.
Yield to me, he can. Thank you.
Uncle Nagu, you have 4 minutes. Mr. Cameron Cochran, I have not called on you yet. Please sit down now, or you can leave.
I'm sitting down. Dr. Cochran, by the way. I do have a degree in it. I'm a doctor.
First warning.
Thank you for that warning, ma'am. We're gonna have another.
I apologize for that.
No worries.
You have 4 minutes.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm speaking on the governing standards and, the discussion to change the meeting time and frequency of meetings. Well, on the surface, it appears that you're doing this to make the meetings more efficient. That argument doesn't hold well. And it's only because of the history of this council. This council has a history of silencing critics. And it started, for example, with citizen petitions. Last November, we had a citizen who filed a citizen petition to remove the city manager. The very next council meeting, the council voted to remove citizen petitions. That right there tells you something. Then in December, we did have non-agenda items for all citizens at first. And then a week later, it changed from only citizens living in Khalid. Then the mayor stated to the newspaper that she will make sure that the council will address those handful of people that only come up here to complain. And sure enough, in January, the council voted to remove non-agenda items for all citizens. So it's, you know, decreasing the number of people that can come up here and that are allowed to speak. It has nothing to do with being rude. Even people that are very respectful, they get shut down. I am a victim of one of those incidents. I am against this for that reason, because this is done, it's not done to make the meetings more efficient. It's done to shut people down. If you're starting at 3 o'clock, most people will not be able to make it. And that, in fact, it just gives you more power and more control of how things are gonna be run. Yeah, they'll be more efficient. You know, that's how it is under communism. I remember I grew up under communism. We were not allowed to criticize the rulers. Everybody was blind. Everybody was very orderly. It was very orderly, very peaceful. But it was communism. People are not happy. Yeah, it was orderly, but people were very unhappy. If that's what you want, we don't want that. We're not gonna accept that. Thank you.
Cameron Cochran.
Looking for anybody else wants to speak? Anybody? Anybody?
Well, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Cameron Cochran, because that's all right here. Dr. Cameron Cochran. I would like to have my time deferred to my fellow speaker.
Melissa?
Thank you. So with the extra 30 seconds that I should have been allotted.
Madam City Attorney. Councilmember Board has a question.
We're here as a member of a group.
Ma'am, I have not addressed you yet. Madam City Attorney, Mr. Boyd has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question because this might be a precedent. Is this permitted?
So your governing standards under public participation allow the mayor may extend the time allocation for a designated spokesperson if the person for whom he or she speaks agrees to yield their time to the spokesperson. It is not mandatory, it's permissive.
It sounds like it's up to the mayor.
No, ma'am. Mr. Cochran, do you want to use your time or not?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
There's no rule against this one, no. The act actually says that they cannot.
The act actually says they cannot.
Mr. Cochran.
I'm speaking. Thank you.
Mr. Cochran. Ms. Brown, would you please take your seat? Ms. Brown, would you please take your seat? That's your first one. Ms. Brown, would you please take your seat? Ms. Brown, leave the chamber now. Leave the chamber. We're taking a 5-minute break.
There she goes! Precious!
Otherwise prohibited by law. Furthermore, a government body making a rule limiting the amount of time in member to address the government body and does not use continuous transition equipment must give twice as much time to a person to address the government body through a translator.
Leo, I'm transferring custody of all of my belongings, with the exception of my phone and my purse. Leo, you accept?
Yes.
Thank you. This is
bullshit, and everyone knows it.